Hello and welcome to this second first look exploring session looking at a knack to know an honest man. Not to be confused with a knack to know a knave, which is how I keep repeatedly almost sending out messages about this online because the two titles are so similar, though they are quite fundamentally different plays. Knack to know an honest man is doing the inverse, obviously, of a knack to know a knave, and so far has raised a lot of interesting things. It has raised a lot of interesting issues. It has so far landed reasonably well, but it has raised the spectre of sexual violence and other violence in the works. So, trigger warning, we don't know where it's going. We don't know how well it's going to land further down the line, and hopefully all will be well, but the curse of the final session may strike. We shall see. Reading today, Fortunio, Porter, and Phillip is...
Hello, my name is Lynn. I'm coming to you from the northwestern United States today.
Reading Lelio and Servio today is...
Aliki, Chapple, actor and translator, currently in northwest England.
Joining us to read Forsa, Phillida, Lucida, and a couple of senators is...
Hi, I'm Eric, the correspondent from the attic.
Reading Orphino and Sempronio is...
Hi, I'm Briony, coming at you from the basement.
Reading Duke Medesa, Marchetto, and Duke today is...
Sarah Blake, on the ground floor and hoping to stay there.
Reading Brisheo, Gnatto, and Clerk is...
Alan Scott, in the greenhouse with the lead pipe.
Reading Zepherius and Annetta today is...
Rachael, Nicole, I'm in the basement, you're in the sky, something, so just walk on by.
And I'm your host, Robert Crighton, and I'm where I am. I'll be reading stage directions and stepping in if there's any clashes. It's a relatively smaller room than we sometimes have, and there are a fair number of parts bouncing about, so I may have got the doubling wrong at times. There may certainly be occasions where characters are reading the same part in the middle of a scene, but hopefully nobody actually actively talks to each other. We shall see. We're joining the play from scene 8. Scene divisions could vary. There's at least one questionable scene division that I've noted coming up. But scene 8, change of location from last time, by the looks of things, because now we have 2 dukes coming on, not including the duke that we met last time. So we're up to 3 dukes in this play. Enter Duke Forsa, Duke of Milan, with Brisheo and his train. Enter Medesa, Duke of Florence, with Lelio and his train at the other door. Oh, we seem to have lost Forsa. Eric, are you there?
He's in the chat. There's a message. He's just had a phone call.
Ah, right. Okay. Well, just have a quick look to see if we can step in with someone who's definitely free for the next scene. Yes, Briony, could you read Forza for the moment? And we'll filter Eric in if he appears. So, Forza and Medesa, Dukes, and the Exiles. Enter.
Now, Brisheo, since thy country Venice scorneth thee, and thou an abject wretch exiled from thence, yet I have made thee champion of my right. If thou expect the cause, it is for dowry, the which the Florentines denies to pay. In the right of marriage with fair Aurelio, my wedded wife, for this thou fights. Now get the victory, and thou hast purchased country, life, and friends.
Reason no more, my lord, for virtue plucketh occasion ere he draweth his sword. Look on, great princes, and see an old man fight. Even as the candle falling down aside, then burneth brightest when it begins to fall, fail in age. So I will show greater valour, and will not now submit.
I take thy word. God maintain now the right.
Now, Lelio, I have laid the burden of my war on thee. Thou art the champion of my weal or woe. Deceive not my firm hope, but in a manly fight attempt the winning of this happy day.
By those moist tears which, with a mournful heart, I often shed upon Sempronio's hearst, and by the love I bear Annetta fair, not by my death, but my death shall make me lose thy right, more than my life I cannot hazard, mighty Florentine.
I like thy courage. Gentlemen, charge the combatants.
And here sound trumpets.
Whom do mine eyes behold? Art thou not Brisheo, my father, who, forsaking weal and friends, madest thy choice of baleful banishment, rather than live and see me banished?
Art thou not Lelio, whom my zealous prayers have always wished and willed thy greatest good? Cease, trumpet, cease! We two must never fight. Oh, what means thy champion Medesa faint?
What means thy champion Forsa that he faints?
To combat with my son were worse than
To
death.
combat with my father were my death.
Father and sons, both champions in our wars.
Brother and brother, causer of the same.
What favour merit they, who love so well?
What infamy deserve we that contend? See, Forsa, these champions are so kind they cannot fight. Shall we contend for titles wretchedly, while meaner men contend in perfect love?
A pardon, Medesa, all the world besides. Had not this man, this father of my wife, encountered me, I would have died and perished in thy cause.
Pardon, Forsa, had not this virtuous husband of my child encountered me, I would have died and perished in thy cause.
Rife combatants, you teach us what to do. Come, Medesa, join you hands, and let these two which love so well be judges of our wars, and let it end.
Brother, content. Now, champions, end debate. What you conclude shall make a peace with us.
See, my son, our love hath well nigh made their peace. Princes, are you agreed to determine war by us?
Aye, Brisheo, now we are agreed.
Then tell me, mighty Duke, but dally not, lovest thou Aurelio as a husband should?
I love and honour her in world and soul.
Then nothing is too dear for her, my liege.
I'll hazard life, and all to do her good.
Affirm her jointure then, keep thy word.
Then let the Florentine pay me her dowry.
Fear not, my lord, the Florentines' men are men that honour right. Speak, great Italian Duke, shall it be bruited in the ears of men that Forsa grants all duty unto thee, and thou deny her right of marriage?
'Tis pity that gold should part two noble minds. Oh, here, Forsa, take my hand. This night 1/10 shall lodge us both, and here, a legere shall my money lie until my treasure hath brought thy due.
Then march in peace, here endeth all our hate. Thus poor men's love doth great men's harms debate.
And exit all. That's a really interesting scene. It's sort of this echo of the opening of the play, and considering that this is actually not a bad vantage point to have had just finished an interval, it's not a bad way. I'm really thinking ahead already to a performance, so we haven't even got to the end of the play. It's not a bad way to kick off the second half. We have a putative fight. We get trumpets playing, and then oh my God, it's you! How what a coincidence! And we get violence is thwarted by people just talking to each other and being reasonable, which is quite nice. I quite like it when people actually just sit down and figure stuff out. So yeah, thoughts in the room about this? It's what's going on, Lynn?
I don't know. It's so unrealistic. I think it'd be a really hard sell. I think it'd be really getting the audience to buy this episode, would be a challenge.
It feels on a par with some of the stuff we had in the first half. I'm not getting the sense that this is aiming for formal realism here. I don't know. Feel free to disagree. I'm just dancing around that. Alan.
Yeah, I'd have thought that you would have got trouble from the groundlings. You know, we came here for fighty action.
Briony, then Sarah.
My train of thoughts just died in my head. Sorry, go ahead.
I'll go to Sarah, and we'll come back to you if it comes back, and then to Aliki.
Like, if they came for fighty action, I find it slightly bemusing that Forsa chooses this old bloke to be his champion. It's like, could he not find anyone else? Were there no young people around who were handy with a lance? It's just nuts.
Yes, I mean, Lynn's got a point that, none of this makes any sense at all, apart from just this is what the play's doing. It's like, yes, everybody's got unfortunate case of coincidence disease, and it's just like, oh no. Briony, has the thought come back?
Yeah, just that we did kind of flag up yesterday that there was going to be something when it was one of the senators, wasn't it, that said go to where your dad's exiled and join the wars. So we knew something was going to come of that. But yeah, this isn't quite what we were thinking.
Aliki.
So I was thinking of Sempronio back in Venice lecturing people to try and get them to do the right thing. And all these two have to do is hug and everything is resolved.
Should always be that way.
Yeah, there's something quite heartening about, these two people, they won't fight. I really like the cease the trumpets cease. I like the idea that the trumpets just keep going. That this is this extended... actually, I want them to be a trombone. I just, while they walk out to fight. Okay, so... Not necessarily terribly plausible, but I'm still going with it for the moment. We will see. So we're going to go into scene 9, and we're going to run into what we're calling scene 10, or some people have called scene 10, but I think it's still the part of same as scene 9. And we'll rattle through that and see how that goes. So enter. Down as Zephyron, that's wrong. Zepherius, Zepherius, and Orphino, the two younglings, with the soldiers. So,
This is the place now, fellows. Stand close a while. If any shall attempt to scale these walls, assault him and kill him if you can. For death is too good an end for him that favors dishonesty.
I hear them coming, brother. Now stand close.
Enter Fortunio and Marchetto, Boo Hiss, and Sempronio.
Now sleeps the sun in Thetis' liquored lap, and watery eyes are pleased with pleasant rest. Now plays the silver moon upon the sea, and all the train of twinkling stars adorn the hollow compass of our heaven's sphere. This is the place where I must purchase life or end my days. Marchetto, boldly knock, and see if by permission we may enter in, lest rumor will bewray us this darksome night.
Here Marchetto knocks.
Now? What scab is at the door this time of the night?
Mirror, tell thy mistress Fortunio is at hand to speak with her.
Soft, sir. Keep out, I say, lest I make garters of your guts. Footballs to your faces. Oh, let forth that dogs there.
Sirrah, dispatch and call your mistress forth, or with my sword I'll send thy soul to hell.
Way, you may carry the message thither thyself. But poor men's souls were made for heaven, and the rich for hell.
And just to confuse everyone with the doubling, enter Annetta and Lucida.
What noise is this? What meaneth you thus to assault a hapless lady's house?
Annetta, my fair love, my heart's sole queen.
Avaunt, dishonest man, disturber of the poor. I know thy drift, I know Fortunio comes to heap dishonor on my hapless house, but you may be gone and get you to your rest, for no man entereth these doors this night.
Seize I this haggard, I'll make her stoop.
Heave me the doors from off the hinges straight.
Who lifts his hands to force these barred doors shall buy his rashness with his dearest blood.
What, hath she champions to resist us then?
Aye, such as scorn to be disgraced by thee.
Down with the slaves, fellows, beat them down, give light.
Fortunio is slain! Soldiers, go raise the watch!
The prince is hurt. Zepherius and Orphino fly apace.
My sense fails. Oh, help me to my bed.
Lean on my shoulder and let us go.
And exit Sempronio and Fortunio. Enter Marchetto and Servio.
These are the traitors. Servio, lay hands on them.
Who's this? Orphino and Zepherius, the sons of Brisheo, performers of this deed.
Go, Servio, keep them close till I inform the Duke, and visit young Fortunio in his bed.
And exit Marchetto.
What ho, Phillida? My girl, come forth here.
And enter Phillida. Oh, what would my father?
Go take these prisoners, and see thou keep them close. I'll lock them in the upper loft till I return.
Use us like gentlemen, we crave no more.
Use you like knaves, for you deserve no less. Go, get your hands.
And they exit apart from Servio.
So now shall I see the end of Brisheo's race. Now shall Sempronio's death be well revenged. First will I go to the Duke, and there procure their death. And haste again to see their execution done.
And exit Servio. There's a lot of business there. There's a lot of business without adequate stage directions to describe what's going on. But yeah, basically the proposed fight between the forces of good and the forces of evil occurred. Fortunio gets a wound, and the two relatively young sons, we haven't established a precise age for them yet, are captured for the deed. And precisely whether that splits into two scenes in a meaningful way, it seems to me there's just an awful lot of business going on there rather than two separate scenes. So thoughts on that little sequence? It feels like there's a lot more that should be there, but not necessarily in dialogue terms.
Yeah, that's interesting that this text has a number of stage directions, so it's a little unexpected that that fight isn't described in the text at all. Just not there.
Yeah, and we've got at least one line of dialogue that looks like it could be a piece of stage direction, but it also could just be someone describing the thing that's happening on stage. So there's a line currently given to Sempronio: "The prince is hurt," and Zepherius Orphino fly apace. It looks like that is actually an instruction, but it could also be a stage direction, or it could be both. Sarah?
We had it in the previous scene as well with, no, not the previous scene, the first scene with the Dukes. Because it's like, oh, look, your champion's fainted. Oh, yes, look, your champion's fainted. And that wasn't in the stage directions either. It was just kind of implied through the dialogue. So,
yeah, and it's not, that's an interesting question about the fainting as well. It's like, what do we mean by that? Because It's not like they're exhausted. Are they? How performative? What are they doing there? They could be quite funny about that. Whereas this scene is deadly, deadly serious. And Aliki, I think you mentioned in the chat just Fortunio's dialogue coming in to commit an assault, or both of them commit an assault, and yet suddenly get this really odd bit of poetry. It's something really quite disturbing about that. Aliki.
Well, Fortunio has throughout framed his nefarious intentions as romantic. And to the point where I wasn't quite sure that what he was offering her wasn't honorable marriage at the very beginning.
Yes, because when I was first reading it, I was going, oh, I see, it's going to be this is a romantic comedy plot, and then going, oh no, actually no, it doesn't seem to be going that way. But he's been wounded now, and we've already had one person being wounded after a fight, who has a change of heart. Is that where the play is going? I don't know. I have no idea. Other thoughts about this little sequence? We don't know how many people come in with, Zepherius and Orphino. It says with the soldiers, the people they've hired with the money that we had last session. So we don't know how big this fight is, because we don't know how many are on the Duke's side as well. So this could be quite a big scene.
Yeah, because he says something about fellows. So yeah, some. It's not just the two of them. It's not just Marchetto and Fortunio. So yeah, it could be.
Well, Sempronio told them to go hire some bravos to back them up.
Yeah. Any other thoughts before we move on? No? Okay, let's crack into what we'll continue to call scene 11. And it's a two-hander. I don't see our Phillida in the room at the moment. So, Sarah, I think you're free for this scene. Could you step in to be Phillida, please? So enter Phillida with the keys.
Whither will love and duty lead me now? To whom shall I submit in these extremes? If to my father, then my lord must die, lovely Orphino and young Zephronio. My cruel father now doth seek their deaths, and now in haste is gone into the Duke, that both of them this morn may lose their heads. But I'll prevent him, for here I'll set them free, and hazard all their peril on myself.
Here, open the door and enter the two brethren.
Orphino, come forth.
What seeks thou, lovely maid, amongst wretched men?
I seek for love. Saw you not him of late?
He never keeps where wretched men abide.
Oh, yes, yes, Orphino. Down in thy eyes he keeps. But now to tell you dangers that are pressed, and you must seek prevention out of hand. For Corradino, by Marchetto's mouth, hath taken order that tomorrow morn young Zephronio and you shall lose your heads.
Oh, cruel sentence upon innocence, for what we did was in our philter's cause.
How doth Fortune... Oh, sorry, not me.
How doth Fortunio?
Like the dying man. But grieve not, Orphino. Heardest not thou what love did promise late? Wilt thou protest if I do set thee free, and thou return to Venice safe again? Vouchsafe to take me to thy wedded wife?
I vow before the mighty God of heaven to wed and honour none but Phillida.
I take thy word, and soon shall set thee free. Here, take my father's signet, give it to the porter of the gates, and he will let you pass. And so, farewell, my sweet Orphino. I cannot stay, and in thy journey, think on Phillida.
Exit Phillida.
Danger then must hasten our departure. Farewell, sweet Phillida, queen of my heart.
And exit. Oh, well, what a nice scene. Didn't see this coming at all. Yeah. That tickled me. Any thoughts from the room on Phillida? Sarah?
The Chaucer action going there.
Yes.
Did we even know that Servio had a daughter up until this point?
I was wondering if there was something vaguely
Yes.
mentioned earlier.
We did.
Yeah, I think that there was something in passing, but I don't think
Okay.
there was any detail. But that might be needed to be highlighted, or just Phillida needs to pop in the background so you signpost who they are.
Daughter, here, coming up later in the plot.
Hi, I'm in Act 2. I'm doubling as a shepherd in the first half. But yeah,
Probably
no.
the one who disappears after the first 8
First scene.
lines.
Yeah. One who tells a sad story and then never speaks again. So yeah. No, that just tickled me. Any more for any more? Should we just take a win and move on? I mean, yeah, I'm still enjoying things. Oh, Briony.
Just to apologise, if I'd known that was coming up, I may not have chosen to do that voice first. What's his face? Orphino.
It's a journey of exploration. You know, we make choices, and discovering that they're the wrong choices is as useful as making the right ones. Okay, let's dip into scene 12 then. We return to Servio. Returns again, and I think you can remain as Phillida. I think that's okay, Sarah. I don't think you. Has Phillida entered the room? We have our original Phillida back. Okay.
Sorry about that.
That's okay, Eric. Welcome back. Your Phillida's looking like a lovely part, so enjoy. Anyway, scene 12. Enter Servio alone.
Welcome, sweet morn, the means of my delight. God and my industry hath wrought this much in just revenge of my Sempronio's death. First Lelio banished, next Brisheo to live in misery, and last his sons today must suffer death. Have I not 4 for 1?
Enter the porter.
Good morning, and good fortune to my lord.
How now, porter, what news?
I bring your honour's signet back again, which gave me warrant for 2 gentlemen to pass the gate and watch some 2 hours since.
My signet, knave, to pass 2 gentlemen? Alas, poor slave, hast thou been overwatched?
Why look you at the ring, my lord?
Why, thou wilt not make me mad, I am sure. Come, let me see. Mark is mine. I fear me here's some villainy. What, Phillida? Come forth. My heart misgives. I pray thee hold my head.
Enter Phillida.
Father, did you call?
Thou chalet carine drab, who took this signet from my finger? Speak!
You ask me questions past my knowledge.
Where are the keys that locked the upper loft?
Fast beneath the pillow where you sleep.
Go fetch them hither. I'll see them straight. Go call up my neighbours. Fairies haunt my house.
Exit Phillida.
This ring was yesterday night upon this thumb. Yet hath 2 devils gotten it abroad and gotten passage through my castle gates. And here a worse than Lucifer himself doth bring it back to haunt me with suspect.
And enter Annetta, thankfully silent Lucida, and Gnatto.
Hie thee, good Gnatto. Bring us to the house. If yet my brothers bide with Servio, I'll to the Duke and move Fortunio. For what they did was in my honour's right. See where old Servio sits.
He's such a wood-fraud fool, I'm loath to speak.
Enter Phillida with the keys.
Father, here are the keys.
Fetch forth the prisoners. Let me see their looks.
Exit Phillida.
Godspeed you, sir, in the way of honesty. My mistress would know whether her brethren be prisoners in your house or no.
I tell her. And I hope ere noon to see them hanged.
Told you what would come out. He spake as though he would spit his stump in my mouth.
Enter Phillida.
Alas, alas, father, we are all undone. Orphino and Zepherius are fled.
Tell me that my soul hath left my flesh. How? When? Where? Whether? How should they be gone?
Find them brave, mistress. Your brethren are gone.
Villain! Why did they pass? You minx! You minion! You have let them loose.
Good father, do not censure me amiss.
Hence, callet, harlot, worse than naught, for thou hast lost me, and my prisoners I'm undone, my credits cracked, my honours lost and gone. I am a reprobate and cast away. To the Duke, pack thou to hell, thou wretch. Come not in my sight, but get thee gone.
And exit Servio and Phillida.
How glad am I my brethren are escaped. Come, sirrah, vex the silly wretch no more.
And everyone exits. Oh, there's some really lovely turns of phrase here. I'm really, and some really quite horrible ones as well. He spake as though he would spit his stump in my mouth. That's.
Don't go there.
Yeah, that's. I mean, but it's a very descriptive sense of the way that the previous line should be delivered. And yeah. Yeah, have I not 4 for 1? Servio at the opening of the scene is just so. I'm so happy that people are gonna die because of my actions. La la la. He's just Lynn and then Rachael.
Yeah, that's it. I'm sure it would be fun for an actor to play because it's a little, I feel like there's a little continuity problem. In the beginning, you get in the first scene where we see Servio, you get the feeling that he was genuinely fond of Sempronio and is angry that he was killed. And so it's about that. But then he reveals that he actually inherits Sempronio's property. So it's like, and now it seems more about Sempronio again. But then the fact that he wants to kill 4 people for the loss of his one friend is a little much. And then just to sort of top the oddness off, it's just like the fact that I don't get to see my enemy's sons die. It's like the worst thing that's ever happened to anyone ever. I'm undone. My credits it's like, what a drama queen.
A Rachael, then Aliki, then Alan.
No, my question was answered. It was just, why does Servio want to see them all dead? And I guess it's supposed. I forgot from yesterday.
Aliki.
So, yes, he is a drama queen, but I think also he's gone and told the Duke it's all right. The guys who stabbed your son are in my custody. Don't worry. So he is undone in that sense.
Yeah. Alan.
Yeah, that's very much the point I was making. But I must admit, the more it goes on, the more I'm seeing Servio as being a Victorian period melodrama villain, complete with twirly moustache and green-lined cape.
There is a possible problem with Servio if we look back at a scene about him at the beginning of the play, about his relationship to money, that we might be certainly in performance. I think we can avoid this problem, but there might be just a little bit of a anti-Jewish trope playing here in the nature of the character. That this is starting with the relationship with the daughter as well, is starting to flag up a few parallels with other plays in my mind now that might be at play here. So we'll keep an eye on that. I don't think in performance. I think that's all tweakable, and if it is there, it may not be. We may just be seeing shadows where there are none. But we should be aware of that as a problem. Eric.
Does the bugbears predate this? Because
yes.
the whole fairies haunt my house thing just sounds very, very bugbears. Things have been disappearing. I wonder where they are.
Yeah, gremlins in the works. Furies under the floorboards. Fairies and Cupid in the attic. Other thoughts on this? Anyone want to throw in at this stage? The action continues to move forward. It's the plot is there are threads moving in slightly different places, but so far it's quite nicely linear. It's not like you're going to lose track of where the plot is, even though there are actually quite a few plates spinning now. I think it is quite nicely structured. I'm quite liking that. Okay, let's dip into scene 13. And we have various escapees are all meeting each other here. So enter Orphino, Zepherius, and Lelio, who we haven't heard that much from. We heard briefly earlier, but now we're going to get some people meeting each other, which is nice. Take it away.
Good fortune to our brother Lelio.
Oh, happy relics of a worthy man, young Zepherius and kind Orphino. How went the word in Venice with our friends? Of fair Annetta? How lives Lucida?
The worst doth still prevail. Marchetto hath attempted thy fair wife. Fortunio sought to ravish Lucida, and we, rescuing them, have hardly escaped with life.
Like as the palm unto the Egyptian sages, that in 300 days and 65 is seemliest and fully brought to pass, even so your tidings to sad Lelio importeth my excreting year of grief, that hath 300 woes and 65 300 sorrows more.
To grieve thy sorrows without mending them is vain, vanity. Lelio, behold occasion favors thee.
Why are your swords unsheathed, you noble friends? Doth pity move you by a blessed death to end my woes? Oh, welcome is that sword that slits this heart.
Thou seest our father in declining age is banished quite for saving thy life, and we, his sons, unless he doth return, are never like to visit Venice more. Resolve you then to hie you back again, and by thy head revoke our exiled sire, or by our swords prepare thyself to die.
Is this the cause that makes you so unkind? Will Lelio's head, or heart, or any part be comforters to Brisheo and his sons? Put up your swords, we will not square for this, that I may see my father ere I go, and thank him for his many courtesies.
And enter Brisheo.
See where he comes, occasion favors thee.
God bless my sons. Rise, rise, and speak to me. Have you not some Venetian friends unkind?
Their friendship with thy fortunes took an end.
I thought no less. But why is Lelio so discontent? Don't give over, man, the stream will run with us at last.
I come to thank my father for his love, and pray him, by those arms he honours most, to deign my dutiful and kind adieu.
Why, whither goes my son so suddenly?
To Venice, father, to redeem your banishment.
I am not banished. You wrong my fames. Living for him, I live at liberty.
But Lelio must not live unless he be resolved to hie to Venice, that thou mayst return.
These are thy children, Brisheo. These exceed in kindness towards thee and towards me. O honours to your fathers and to your father and to me, let me embrace you for your courtesy. Brisheo, farewell. Accept 1,000 thanks.
Why, who wills thee hence?
Hence, that will be actors in his tragedy, unless he to Venice go speedily, and quit thee from this exile with his head.
These are not Bricheo's sons, bids Lelio hence. These are not Bricheo's sons that draw their swords. Thou art my son. These two are Fortune's slaves. Avaunt, vain boys, come not in my sight. By heaven and heaven's adorning sun, these are no sons of mine that sin so much.
Ashamed, we beg a pardon at thy hands.
Ashamed, I beg a pardon at thy hands, in rendering nature that had lost thy power to breed such manslayers in an honest stock.
Oh, bend not those knees to which nature bends.
O Lelio, sue our pardons. Plead for us. Our judgments were disgraced by our loves.
Rise, father of kind sons, sons kind to father, brothers unkind in kindness to your brother. I, kind to churlish of my kind, do yield kind death to save your lives.
Swear penitence, lewd boys. Submit to Lelio humbly on your knee, else will I never bless you, graceless youths.
We humbly crave submission of our brother.
And thou, my son, nay more than son, my friend, here plight thy faith to bide and stay with me, for I shall think my love but spent in vain.
I vow to be as sequest to my father, and with my heart I do forgive my brothers.
Then will I now incorporate these lads, and hug them in my arm, and hold them dear. Now will I hold a festival today, for Lelio, Zepherius, and Orphino.
And I, with favour of my noble lord, will first give order to my soldiers, and then return to Brisheo in his tent.
Be careful of thy charge, my noble son. I will not hinder thee in virtuous things, but let us meet again before we march, for I have many things for to impart to thee.
My business past, I will revisit thee.
And they all exit apart from Lelio.
In what a world of troubles am I tossed! To Venice, Lelio, rid thy father's cares. Ay, but Brisheo will accuse thy breach of faith, and while I here remain, his griefs increase. I am resolved. Father, friends, farewell. I will to Venice with a merry heart, and in what ear disguise I can provide, visit Annetta, distressed wife, and so redeem my father's banishment.
And exit Lelio. And Lynn's ears pricked up there at the end going, oh, my original the thought about where the plot's going is now becoming more plausible again, as Lelio is going into the field of danger. One of those scenes that I always find slightly difficult to fully go with, and it's just one of my areas of the early modern that I always find slightly tricky, is when people are talking about the honourable thing to do, and you must do this and you must do that, and this is the thing you should do, and as people talk themselves into doing sensible or unsensible things, I always find it slightly hard to get into that mindset of these, people's views. But actually, I think it does work as an interesting scene and about motivations, and do you do the sensible thing or do you do the honourable thing, and what do you do, and how people can talk other people into doing different things. So I think there's a really interesting dynamic to this scene that you need to sort of get into, I think, a bit. Briony, then Aliki, then Lynn.
Yeah, I can get my head around most of it, except Brisheo. Like, what? I don't understand where he's coming from in the slightest. He absolutely forgave his son-in-law instantly for murdering somebody and was like, it's fine, I'll break the law to look after you, and that's wrecked his own family. But now he's mad at his sons for wanting Lelio to go so that they can actually have lives again? Like, what?
Yeah, there's an interesting logic going on there. Aliki.
And I don't think they want him to go. I think they want to kill him. And that's the problem. They want to kill him and take his head back to Venice to go, here you go, we killed him, can Dad come back now, right? So I think that the thing is about family love and not allowing those who are your family to die, if you can prevent it. What I was going to say before, though, is I see what you mean about this scene, and I wonder if, to some extent, it isn't sending up that kind of scene. This constant repetition of brother, brother, father, father, love, love, do the right thing, yes, and love, here, kill me, yes, and love. It's just, it's either very silly or it's having a bit of fun with this extravagant trope.
Lynn.
Yeah, I really like that, Aliki. That might be one way into this. It's sort of an affectionate parody of these medieval romances. But as far as I have less trouble with Brisheo than I do with the boys. I mean, Brisheo is devoted to Lelio because Lelio was defending Brisheo's daughter from sexual assault. Sempronio tried to rape her, basically. I think that's the most extreme view. But so, it is about family. It's about defending the man that defended his daughter's honor. So that's Brisheo's motivation there. But the boys seem like kind of good kids. But then they show up in Medina or Milan or wherever they are and say that, and I don't think they say, we're going to kill you, Lelio. They say, either go back to Venice voluntarily and surrender yourself, or we will bring your head back. So they're kind of giving him an ultimatum, rather than saying, look, Lelio, we think the honorable thing to do would be to go back to Venice, turn yourself in, and ask that our family be pardoned for harboring you. Because you, after all, did kill a guy. So it seems to me that they sort of missed an opportunity by not asking Lelio to do it voluntarily, which he's about to do. So this scene is really weird, but I really like Aliki's idea that this is, don't try to motivate this in a sort of Stanislavskian way. This is sort of a loving parody of this genre.
And that doesn't necessarily mean that you can't play it for, it's, I feel this is one of those scenes where we need to workshop this quite a lot and, make sure that everyone knows what their motivations are and then tweak those motivations to see how the scene actually lands. Because it's actually quite difficult to know precisely what people are doing at certain times. Because you're right, it starts off seeming like, hi, my brother, hey, it's great to see you, la 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 la, and then the other one's going, hang on, why are you unsheathing your sword? So it's not quite fully clear from a first read where the tone is shifting and what's going on. So I think there's a lot, and also there's one or two points where I'm sort of going, is that person's dialogue or is that somebody else's? And there's a couple of moments where I was going, oh, there might be just some misplaced bits here that actually the text is sending us in a slightly weird direction, and that's actually confusing us. Briony, are you waving?
Yeah, just I obviously hadn't quite grasped fully what was going on, so thank you for sorting that out. But the whole situation is such a mess at this point, because the brothers have also defended her from rape by this point, and to some degree Lelio's continued being on the lam is going to be having a negative effect on the whole family, including the daughter, so yeah, it's just got so messy and convoluted that I think, yeah, I would have struggled to know what to do with this scene, but I think Aliki's idea is not a bad one.
Yeah. And where it turns, and obviously the major issue here is it gives us a scene where Lelio decides to go home. And it dramatizes that rather than him just coming on stage and going, "I'm going to go home now." So it does serve a nice dramatic function there, which I'm quite liking. And it's raised an interesting question about how to stage this scene rather than why is it here, which is it does a job. Eric.
Oh, also, I forgot to mention this for the previous scene, but I guess you could apply it to this one. There's a lot of physical business in this play, as far as I can tell. I wasn't here yesterday, but it's like sort of, people coming on, coming off, and doing stuff, and running around, and being banished from places they've, it's just interesting to observe.
Yeah, the stage directions are giving us our principal entrances and exits and occasional additional data, but it's not actually filling in all the gaps. A lot of the gaps are coming via the dialogue. This is feeling very much like the kind of thing you would have in a Playhouse book that, it tells you when people come on. And occasionally it gives you some detail as when they leave, but not always. And some other stuff, but not everything. And so, yeah, there's it feels very active. Sarah, and then we'll move on.
Yeah, I'm also I really liked Aliki's idea about it being a parody, and that's definitely an option. But then I'm now looking at Lelio's last speech, and I'm not sure, because basically he is. Maybe I've got this wrong, but he is basically in agreeing to go back. He is basically going back to his execution.
He is going in disguise, and we all know early modern disguises are perfect and nobody ever sees through them.
Well, of course they are. But then if he's actually going to go back to mend Brisheo's relationship and to get Brisheo off the hook, then he's going to have to, isn't he? He's going to have to reveal who he is eventually. So he is kind of effectively going back there. He's doing it with a glad heart, but he's going back there to effectively his death. So I don't know really. It's an interesting one because there is a lot of sort of repetition of lines and half lines and words. So the parody thing is definitely there. But then I feel that final speech of Lelio's is pretty sincere and quite moving in a way.
I'm sort of somewhere in between because I'm thinking, with any family psychodrama, there is an element of comedy to it.
Yeah, true.
And I think almost actually Lelio's side of the scene is the serious thing, whereas what's going on between father and sons here has much more potential for that kind of back and forth. There are layers to this that could actually work on both levels, but turning on a sixpence. So, though of course that might end up with a really messy, unfocused scene where choose one or the other. A note comes in briefly, Rachael.
In the Odyssey, doesn't Odysseus go back in disguise or something at first? And then I was also wondering because isn't Sempronio staying still in the house they were all living in before with Annetta and Lucida, and they're both going to come in disguised? Is there going to be some comedy nonsense happening with that a little later on?
Sempronio is currently attached with Fortunio's household, as it were, on some level. Sempronio did visit the household, but he was just passing through to offer gold. Offer gold in the way of going, here's gold you shouldn't take. It's stuff you shouldn't have. You don't really want this, do you? No, of course you don't. Great salesman. Okay, scene 14. We return to another Duke. So many Dukes. Duke we met earlier. Enter the Duke of Venice with the Senator and Servio. But Servio, downplaying fortunes here, Servio is bound.
Bring torches forth, bring me a cord. Stretch me the villain's limbs, force him to confess. What, have I made thee the Marquis of St. Mark's, and gave thee charge of all the city keys, and hast thou played me such a part, to let those caitiff boys escape my hands?
Just God, great Duke, can witness it with me with what great griefs I lost the prisoners.
Who doubts, but God beholds thy treachery. And therefore the minister of God will punish thee, and make thee to confess whether corruption or affliction made thee discharge the prisoners of my wrath.
Rack me to death. Show all extremities, you shall but wreak your wraths on innocent.
This is but delaying. Rack him, I say.
Enter Phillida.
Work no injustice, great Venetian Duke. Unbind my aged father, cruel man. These pangs belong to nothing but guilty souls. Inflict them then on those that merit them.
Or what art thou that hinders justice so?
The hapless daughter of this hapless man. I stole my father's keys by night. I freed Orphino and Zephronio. And if this deed do merit death, my lord, let loose my father, wreak your hate on me.
If you be she that set my prisoners free, I am the judge, and sentence thee to die. Slaves, strangle her. Let Servio be released.
Oh, pardon the daughter, let the father die.
Why say you, ministers, is not the sentence passed? Must I not die?
Enter Sempronio with Fortunio bound.
No, marry, must you, not you, foolish girl. Good Lord, how apt the world is nowadays to find invention to destroy a man, when, as the greatest arts of our age, can never make or hardly mend a man. Great Corradino, let me counsel thee, if thou wilt punish damned and wretched men, put me these greybeards quickly from their seats, and rack them soundly, and they will confess how they prefer their gold before their God, their lands and honours before their honesty, or, if thou wilt conceive the truth of things, see here the man, who drawn by lawless lust, did seek sinisterly in time of night, in company of that lewd lecher there, to ravish Lucida, Lord Lelio's daughter, and force the mother, in whose just defence Orphino and Zepherius drew their swords. Then were these young men justifiers of right, and this lewd man, was he deserved death? Look on this prisoner's face, you know him well. The world esteems him next akin to you.
Fortunio? What? My son? What means these bans?
What else but bans belong to guilty men? Why should my greatness cover my misdeeds? Or poor men suffer for a great man's sin? Father, root from forth your royal court this cursed flatterer that seduced me. We too deserve to die.
Releasing Sempronio and Orphino.
These prisoners have done thee honor, for by wounding me they have preserved their sister from a rape, me from perpetual shame, thee from much grief. Therefore, if justice punish anyone, begin with us. Else will the proverb told, smallest flies are tangled in thy twist, when greater far breaks through the force and force the web.
Servio and Phillida, your judgment is to loose Fortunio's bands. Fortunio's pains is to embrace old Corradino's neck. I thank my God that hath reclaimed thee, and made thee fly the vanities of youth. Now, without fear, shall I encounter death, when I am sure thy wanton days are past. But thou, ungracious man, pass from my court, and exiled to the world. Come, my Fortunio, let us enter in, and establish this perpetual law henceforth, that, but in causes merely capital, a nobleman submitting of himself, and after being reconciled to God, shall have his pardon without prejudice.
Likes me well. Now grows the world to frame. Fortunio now hath learned to know a knave, and is expert to prove an honest man.
And exit. I feel that's Sempronio, not Servio.
Yeah, I did feel weird.
Yeah, no, I think that's misapplied. That's a weird scene. There's some really interesting stuff. I mean, there's a lot of stuff there where I'm sort of going, well, actually, you know, there's stuff happening in there where you're going, ta-da, magic stuff, and but then also you get, okay, that's the kind of judgment that the Duke would deliver. So that I'm really, really sort of torn over what's going on here. This is going to take some unpacking, I think. Lynn and then Alan.
We certainly do have a lot of sudden changes of heart today, don't we?
Yeah.
Let's not have a war. Oh no, we're sorry we tried to kill you. I'm sorry. I planned to sexually assault this innocent woman. Please forgive. Okay. That's the theme for today. I also was going to say, I think Marchetto has to be in this scene. I don't think he has lines, but that's who the Duke is actually banishing from his court.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Because Fortunio mentions him, yes, doesn't he? And says he's the one who led me. Because that's the thing is that Fortunio basically says, "Look, punish me," and then the Duke doesn't. Which, Sarah.
Yeah, not only does he not punish him, but if I've got this right, he actually then says, "Oh, let's establish this perpetual law henceforth. So from now on, if a nobleman, if it's not a capital offence, as long as he's sorry for what he's done, he can have a pardon without prejudice." And it's like he's literally just decided that's going to be the new law because it's his son. Whereas, 5 minutes earlier, he was about to, have Servio tortured and then executed. So, and, Servio was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. But it's like, no, send him to the rack. So it's just like it's kind of like a really good bit of political satire, this. It's like, it's the whole one rule for them and another rule for us. It's like, oh, we'll put this into law now because this is my son. And now I've seen the error of my ways and that this law might not be quite right because it's my son. And I found that quite entertaining. If I've interpreted that right, I'm not entirely sure, but that seems to be what's going on.
Alan, sorry, I forgot to get you earlier. Then Briony, then Aliki.
Yeah, but basically it's the law of the ages. Posh bugger gets away with it again.
Briony.
The fact that he's rewritten, we're gonna make this a perpetual law from now on, to me, kind of indicates that he maybe thinks that they might be in this sort of situation again.
Yeah, in spite of his protestations otherwise. Yeah.
Yeah, Aliki.
Yeah, and especially since Fortunio has just pointed exactly that out. Why should my greatness cover my misdeeds, or poor men suffer for a great man's sin?
Yeah. It's and there's also, I mean, it's also just the violence of the scene. Earlier we had a court of law that, for all its faults, involved people having a debate. And we were asking that question, whether the Duke, why is he complaining that people are quite mildly manneredly exchanging opinions? And whereas here he's just going, he's by himself. There's no senators seems to be saying anything. And he's just going, and death, and just suddenly just going, oh no, strangle the daughter, that's fine. And you're just going, what? And that actually makes that earlier scene suddenly seem, okay, no, this isn't a nice semi-democratic process. Actually, no, he's a tyrant, perhaps. What is this play doing? And, and the advantage at least, or the hope that I've got here is, of course, this isn't the end. If this was the final scene, I think we'd all be going, but there's still room for manoeuvre as to where this play is going. So it could be clever. It could go horribly wrong. Sarah.
Yeah, there's also the thing that it's. Oh no, forget that. I've lost my place. Don't worry, someone else talk.
Okay. Anyone else got any thoughts at this stage? Because I think we may need more data before we can fully unpack this scene in its own right. But as an audience member, I'm now sitting here going, no, I really don't know where this play is quite going. I think I know where it's going, but I'm now no longer sure where it's going, or whether I'm. Yeah, Sarah.
Sorry, yeah, I found it now. It's this bit as well that I find really interesting about the fact that the Duke says, "Oh, I thank my God that hath reclaimed thee and made thee fly the vanities of youth. Now without fear I shall encounter death, when I am sure thy wanton days are past." That's something we've heard before. It's like the father giving thanks for the fact that the son has now grown up and is ready to take on the responsibilities of adulthood, and he feels that he can pass on the mantle to the next generation. But it's really weird because it makes the Duke out to be this kind of wise figurehead who is going to pass the mantle on to the son now that the son has proved himself to be worthy. But that's not really what's going on at all. It's the precise opposite is going on. He's kind of quite whimsical in his cruelty, the Duke, and it's not underpinned by empathy or wisdom or good judgment or anything. It's underpinned by his own selfishness and whim. So it's really very, very satirical. This, I think, it's really interesting what it's doing.
Yeah, I just wrote in the margin at that point. That's my note, because I mean it's if we were talking about morality plays and last time, and I'm thinking in a morality play tradition, broadly speaking, there is an expectation of young men going out and doing getting drunk and doing nefarious things, and then they will be saved later. And that feels like this is drawing on that, but it's drawing on that in not a very good way.
Or it's deliberately drawing on it in not a very good way to kind of point up the hypocrisy of it in a way. I think, or at least you could interpret it that way.
Because and that makes those last lines, the question of who says those last three lines as well, raise the stakes in quite an interesting way. If it's Servio, that sort of works, especially if someone with a big pointy stick just turns around and goes, "And thoughts on that from the room?" This likes me well. But if it's the one Sempronio, who's been here as a semi-moral centre, well, I'm not sure he should be saying that. Yes, Fortunio has learnt a lesson, but if he doesn't then follow through with that lesson, then what's the worth of the lesson? Briony.
Yeah, it just kind of makes me wonder whether or not they're going to go in the direction of Fortunio actually being genuinely remorseful. He really has learnt this lesson, and that basically, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Things aren't going to be all right until the old Duke is gone and he's now in place, now that he's learnt how to be an honest man. I don't know.
Aliki, are you waving? No. Okay, let's gather more data. We've only got a few scenes left. We've got a short one coming up now. Enter Lelio for scene 15. Always a bit possibly problematic. Enter Lelio like a collier. Fingers crossed this will be fine.
Will you buy any coals, fine small coals? Thus have I entered Venice in disguise, and through the streets have gotten unespied. Silence, Lelio. Methinks my door doth ope.
And we can infer that enter Annetta and Lucida at this point.
Yonder comes my wife and daughter forth. How fares Annetta? How doth Lucida?
What, Lelio, my lord in this disguise?
Happy fight to see my father's face.
Oh.
Happy sight to see my father's face. Sorry.
Oh, comfort of my erst esteemed life, how do your sighs revive my drooping mind?
But wherefore doth my lord thus venture life, and come to Venice for to fetch his death?
I come to rid thy father from his banishment, and to endow my daughter Lucida. Come, resolved to Venice here to die. Come hither, daughter. Thou know'st it is proclaimed that whoso brings me to the Senate house shall have 1,000 crowns for recompense. Now, therefore, Lucida, I yield to thee. Take thou the gold, and yield me to them straight, and let my death end all your miseries.
Cursed be that gold that's bought with blood. Happy be that death that doth so many good.
And enter Servio and the guard.
Lelio, we are betrayed. Here cometh the guard.
Aye, any coals, small coals, fine coals. How now? Who walks here in this disguise? Let's see thy face.
Tell you what, shall I read the Servio for the moment? Let's try that again. How now? Who walks here in this disguise? Let's see thy face.
This is our collier.
This is a courtier's seat. What, Lelio? You are welcome, sir. You come in happy time to bring me crowns.
Sir, I am Lelio, I'll not deny my name, and I am prisoner to my Lucida. To her belongs the ransom of my head, not to thee, son of hate and niggardly.
Well, sir, whosoever claim you, I seize thee for my prisoner, who will present thee to the senators.
Ah, gentle Servio, grant me but one thing, then take the profit if thou wilt from me.
What sounds of profit pleaseth, Servio. Speak, gentle maid, I like thy matters well.
I reserve my father in thy prison close, but 3 days' space, and I ask no more.
Well, I grant thy suit, it shall be so. Come, bear him in hence.
Father, time shall discover all. Till then, farewell.
Exit all. I'm assuming there's some money changes hands at that point, because there's no reason for Servio to say yes at that point. Something happens there. But there's an inference of profit motive there. So I'm assuming money changes hands. Money question mark. Okay. So yeah, we don't know if it's a rubbish disguise. Just that, his wife immediately says, that he could reveal it to his wife. He could just take off his vice moustache or whatever. Whereas Servio just goes, immediately, who walks here in this disguise. He's seen the fake collier outfit from Amazon before, hasn't he? So, yeah, not a good disguise from Lelio at all. Rachael.
The same thing happens with Sempronio. I think Fortunio walks in and he's like, is that Sempronio?
Yeah, but
And
Sempronio
like,
has the common sense to go, no.
But I mean, it's this thing of also that Annetta's the one that points it out. I wonder if for both disguises, these women both know these people who are in disguise so well that they're, even if they don't say anything, they know it's a disguise. Or, like a production could discuss some of those decisions or something to figure out which way they want to go with it, because I think there is a lot of comedy in this, and to choose to know, you know what I'm saying, might play into that comedy a little more.
Sarah, briefly, and then we'll go on.
Yeah, given what we were just saying about the potential for satire of the old man speech, eulogizing the fact that his young son is now grown to a man, and how that's a trope in early modern drama, and how it seems to be undercutting it. And then what we were saying about the previous scene as well, and could that be played as a parody of, father and son conversations? And now there's this thing of like, this is twice now where you have this early, normally in early modern drama, nobody sees through the disguise. Even the wife, even the person who's known this person all their life, people do not see through disguises until it's the moment for the big reveal. And here you've got two examples of like, oh, is that you? Oh, yeah, that's you. And I'm just thinking now if the whole thing is just like a massive parody of lots of other, tropes that were going on at the time.
I think it's possible, and that actually the nature of what it's spoofing in terms of survival of text, that there's probably more explicit stuff going on that we're just not actually wholly getting. Yeah. Anyway, we've got another little scene to do because we then have a massive scene to do. So I just want to quickly get the next scene out of the way before we get to the massive final scene. Scene 16, enter Brisheo and his two sons. So let's see if their father-son relationship has got more or less complicated.
Ah, murderers of my joy, go fly my sight. Bring me my Lelio, or you both shall die.
Father, the soldiers tending in his tent reports that he has gone to Venice.
Midst all these melancholy griefs, and with resolved mind to end his days.
Traitorous boys, 'tis you have driven him hence. Thus, villains, have you cozened me of fame, and made him conquer me in courtesy. Run post, hie with speed, bring him to me. Redeem my Lelio, though you lose your lives, or I will hate the ground whereon you tread, and curse the womb that brought me forth such sons.
If we return to Venice, we are but dead.
Villains, tell me not of death. I'll lose you both to have my friend again. Stay but 1 minute, we are mortal foes. This sword shall soon revenge me on your heads.
We go, but father.
What, will you dally yet?
Kill us before we perish by your foes?
Oh, misery of man, you will not go. Then stay and see your father with his sword.
We go, my lord. Oh, spare your reverent age.
Nay, spare your words and spend your feet with haste.
And exit the two sons.
What, are they gone? Cruel and unkind. In seeking to save my friend, I lose my sons. Stay, my sons, leave me some comfort in my age. Whether wilt thou transport my zealous mind? Let me surfeit in the sin of love. They shall not die. If all must perish, I must perish too. I will to Venice and redeem their lives. Else father, friends and sons will die together.
And exit Daddy, demonstrating that he's not all harshness. It's like he's confused. There are so many stage conventions flying at me. No, my sons are not on stage anymore. I'm not playing that scene anymore. No, now I must be repentant and try and save their lives. I'm increasingly leaning in that direction, that all of this tonally is flying around for fun and effect, even though it is dealing with quite serious things. That there is quite a lot going on there. Briony.
Yeah, it's just feeling more and more spoofy as we go on, and that just kind of turned into a bit of a Thelma and Louise suicide pact at the end. Well, let's just all go and die together. Huzzah!
Yeah, I mean, it's a great opening line. Come, murderers of my joy. Yeah, that's a great opening gambit. He immediately tells you where they are as a family. Rachael, then Alan.
Why is he so mean to his two sons? Is Lelio his biological? Also, is Lelio his biological son or his son-in-law? I'm so confused.
I think it's just in law, isn't it?
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah,
it's the thing. We were saying in the chat, and I think I think this is the, the good man's lavished love on his sons, and they don't know how to cope without their privilege. They're just completely lost. Whereas Lelio has proved his virtue again and again. He just assumed his sons would grow up to be good men, and then they keep being jerks.
Or at least in his opinion, they're jerks. I mean, they're not doing that badly. They're not brilliant, but they're not total. There are some problems, but Alan, then Sarah, then we will move on.
The further this goes on, the more it's feeling like the sort of prestige which will be done by a long-established company of, right, what we did a scene from that play, now how can we twist it and have some fun with it? And it's feeling more and more like Actors' Naughty Night, almost an end of season review type thing, although I know it had a lot of longevity from what you were saying yesterday, Rob.
Well, it certainly it has some success in some form. Whether it's in this form, I don't know. Sarah.
This is reminding me more and more of a Netflix drama that I won't allude to, but there are twin brothers who are incredibly handsome and very, very wealthy and totally entitled, and they're both complete idiots. And they have an adoptive brother, and the parents, the mother in particular in that case, has just lavished all this affection on them. And now that they're grown up, she's just like, well, that was a thankless task. And it's very, very funny satire, and it's just this scene really reminds me of it. It's like that, that same joke that's still going now and is driving TV drama now. It's just, I'm pretty sure, that same parody is going on here.
Okay, well, we now go into the epic season conclusion. Scene 17, this is where there's a high probability of doubling issues. We'll just see how it all hangs together. Scene 17, enter the Duke, Fortunio, and the Senators.
Usher, let those that seek for audience enter the court, and move the Senators.
Enter Servio and the guard, with Lelio bound and Sempronio.
Most mighty Duke, most worthy Senators, walking abroad, as is my usual wont, I found Lelio, clothed in a base disguise. Him when I saw, I seized, and seizing, brought to be presented to your honours here, and in humble wise request the largesse which the state allows, which is 1,000 crowns, to him that brings the head of Lelio to the Senators.
The treasurer shall pay thee straight. Scribe, give him a warrant, let him be dispatched. Lelio, stand forth. Art thou the hapless man that slew Sempronio?
My lord, I confess the fault, and am willing, with my death, to recompense the deed.
I cry in all men's ears with eager words, that many seek their dangers by despair, that many die for murders yet undone. I speak to thee, alas, that men were wise, to know their good as their infirmity.
Tell me, Lelio, what moveth thee, free from justice hands, to seek out death with desperate intent?
That which would move the best and wisest man, had he but self-same causes as I had.
Discourse, and let these aged fathers know them all.
What shall they know, in knowing my mishap, that will not mollify their marble minds? Who first, having slain his dearest friend, next caused his father's banishment, and last his wife to live in misery, and would not seek ease for their disgrace, first pay his slaughtered friend with dearest blood, next call his father home from banishment, and, seeing his wife and daughter once oppressed, to get endowment and relief for both. But all my hope is lost. I die in vain, which yields a double torment to my pain. Give sentence, prince. Delay not by my death to rid me from a world of miseries.
Law must have course, though pity plead for thee. Scribe, read the sentence.
Clerk,
Whereas by sufficient testimony and public confession, Lord Lelio is found guilty for the murder of Sempronio, it is adjudged and ratified by the noble Duke of Venice and the most worthy senators his assistants, that for his offence in public place of justice, Lord Lelio shall lose his head.
Servio, take the brief. See execution done.
enter Annetta and Lucida.
Stay, cruel man, trained up in cruelty. Annetta, woeful wife, with earnest tears, publish some sorrow for her zealous mind. Great judges of the state, hear me but speak. Pity for Lelio, grant my husband life.
It may not be. Justice will have no pause.
Yet mercy, Prince, should moderate the laws.
Who spares the guilty animates the bad.
Who spareth more doth hate to justice add.
Pity with justice never well agrees.
Yes, when it moderates severe decrees.
What cause of plea hath this audacious maid?
Such causes virtuous men may wonder at. I claim the pension of 1,000 crowns, for I, my lords, present my father's head.
I claim a revocation, noble lords, for Brisheo, for he doth merit it, by sending Lelio home to you alive, and tendering him to justice by our means. So then, unless you ratify your laws, and call my father home from banishment, and pay the 1,000 crowns to Lucida, add this to your justice, cruel lords, that both the wife and daughter may be led to die with him that doth unjustly die.
Servio presented Lelio unto us, and he deserves the pension of the state.
Lelio discovered unto us, and we deserve the pension of the state.
Lelio first discovered unto us, and we deserve the pension of the state. He to endow me sought his daughter for.
He to redeem his father did return.
The issue of his forwardness was zeal, and Servio's service was but treachery. Your laws command that on the first surprise who met with Lelio should disclose him straight, but Servio 3 days' space did keep him close.
And therefore Servio merits not the gold.
This was the certain hope of my desire.
And didst thou, Servio, keep him 3 days close?
I did, my lord, upon Annetta's humble suit.
Aye, so the fox was taken in a net, and niggardness was caught by subtlety.
Then do the Senate presently decree that Lucida shall have the promised coin, and Servio, for breaking of the law, shall be imprisoned for a 12-month space. This pretty accident doth make me laugh. Now, Servio, you have good time to cast account what interest and profit you have raised by young Sempronio's plated coin.
I hope your grace will pardon this misdeed.
Away with him. I will not hear him speak.
Exit Servio. Meanwhile, enter Orphino and Zepherius, the two sons.
Shall innocent great lords kill guilty men?
Lead me to death, and if my brother die.
No man shall lead my Lelio to his death, except by self-same sword we perish too.
O life, thou feedst me with continual death. When wilt thou end, and ease my heinous harms?
Sorry. What men are these that hinder justice so?
The men that had thy life and fought thy death.
These are old Bricheo's sons. I know them well.
Lay hands on them, and bind the fugitives.
Bind, break our bones, spare neither life nor limbs. We come to die and merit not to live. We bend no knees for mercy, mighty Duke, only our suit is for our brother's life, whose danger we unhappy men have wrought.
How wrought you Lelio's danger? Tell us true.
When from the city speedily we fled, weary to see our father's hard distress, we hied us to the Duke of Florentine's camp, and sought out Lelio with our naked swords, forced him to hie to Venice and redeem our sire. Hereon through fear of us, he came, and in his rescue both of us will die.
Take two for one, great Duke, it is enough. Blood shall have blood, then be thou satisfied.
You wrong me, brothers. Voluntary intent brought me to Venice, not your words.
Thou art too piteous to ingrateful men. We forced thee hither, we must ransom thee. If Lelio die, our father will not live. He prizeth Lelio more than both his sons.
Go. Since you long to die, dispatch them too. Lelio for murder, censured by himself. These for assaulting my Fortunio.
Fit we to censure wrongs done to ourselves. I'll be their advocate, they must not die. Whom have they wronged? Not law, since none is slain. They did but punish me. If any wrong were done, 'twas done to these. If any death be due, 'tis due to me.
By breach of prison they have forfeited.
No, my lord, for they were unjustly punished.
I pardon thee, Fortunio, for all thy wrongs, for pleading zealously for innocence.
But if thou keep my father from the sword, I'll pay thee further kindness than I owe.
Enter at this juncture in the proceedings that are getting quite complicated. Enter Brisheo.
Prevent not zealous faith, you angry heavens. Let raging rigor stay till Brisheo come. What lives they get? Lives Lelio? Live my sons? Bound, censured, pressed to die, the headsman here? Come, let me make the fourth our minister. Lead me to death with these, if these must die.
How dares thy child, Brisheo, visit us? Fearest thou not law?
Yes, Prince, I honour law, and for the love I bear to justice now, I come to pay my ransom of contempt and leave my life in Venice for my crime.
Thy fault deserves not death. The law requires 100 crowns for penalty for thee.
I have no crowns. My head must be my coin. I had one friend, and you will rob me of him. I have 2 sons, and they are bound to die. Thus all my wealth is in your hands, my lords. Give these to me. Give me these living joys, for whom I have adventured breach of law. Then take this hand, cut it off for one, and take this other, cut it off for him. But take for this my body, heart, and all. Ah, Lelio, Lelio, couldst thou serve me so?
We look for money, Brisheo, not for plaints. You shall have money. Here, receive my dowry. I'll pay my grandsire's penalty myself.
No, no, redeem the younger sort. Let me die.
Mighty, magnificent, and gracious lord, why stay you, silly souls, with dalliance? Command these murdering hands to cut my throat, and if that justice flourish in this state, pity my father, friend, my joy and weal.
Call not for death, my son. He calls not thee. For pity, Corradino, censure me. For if I lose these, I must lose my life. And if I lose him, I lose my soul. Then let us all have life, or let's all die, taxing this state with inhumanity.
Draw all these soldiers presently apart. The senators will counsel of these events.
Enter Sempronio.
Let virtue live, let villainy be slain. Let Lelio live, for virtue lives in him. Oh, pity thy camp is pitched here, but grief and sorrow that remaineth here, but faith and honesty that remaineth here. Come, Charity, and lend to me a tongue, else penitent experience is quite undone.
Thou hast a tongue, then rave not so.
I have no tongue, because I cannot show, nor tell to thee the secrets of my thoughts. I have no speech, but such as help me not, but such as sings thy virtue, thy deserts, thy bounty, thy true heart, thy honesty. Oh, were there one could find Sempronio out, how might we make a famous comedy?
Shall this conclusion stand, you noble peers?
We ratify the same by our consent.
Bring forth the prisoners. Brisheo, march thou forth. Obeying the wondrous working of the heavens, we thus conclude that Brisheo shall be free from his supposed exile, and enjoy the goods and fortune he enjoyed before. We likewise do release his forward sons, and pardon their defaults, whate'er they be. We grant the pension of 1,000 crowns to Lucida, as we have promised. Only in this our justice stands in force, that Lelio must for murder suffer death.
Nay, my lord, spare all or none. We crave no further grace.
Let fortune's spite or hate do what she can. Here is a knack to know an honest man. Not age, not life, not sons, not wealth, nor friend can draw thee from affecting thy dear friend. Oh, let me make the third, if Lelio die. Hie thee, kind Charity, lend me a tongue.
Bear hence the prisoner. We dissolve the court.
Stay and suffer, penitent experience, enjoy one boon.
Dispatch then, and tell us what it is.
None but I be executioner to cut off Lelio's head.
We grant thy suit.
Then give me this keen sword, since none but experience hath power to cut off virtue's noble head. Thou shalt not die.
Do not delude our trust.
Nor do you condemn a guiltless man. Oh, Charity is come, I see him now.
Enter old Phillip.
Headsman, dispatch. Except Sempronio live, Lelio must die.
Sempronio lives, my lord. See where he stands.
Hermit, why dalliest thou? Sempronio was young, but this is old. Sempronio was dead, but he doth live.
Old Sempronio now is young again, and dead Sempronio now doth live. Behold him, Lelio. Dost thou know him now?
Sempronio!
Ah, dear Lelio.
This lord, left dead by shepherds in the field, was found again and healed thus by me. And by my art, having his hair disguised, he passed a solemn oath to hide his name and do good deeds where he had once lived loose. Since when, called penitent's experience, he hath remained and lived a pensive life. Speak, my Sempronio, for I discharge thy vow. Tell thou the rest, for why my vision foretold and promised such an incident as never Venice had or saw the like.
Sempronio lives, and Lelio now must live. Grieve for my breach of faith, grieve for my crime. Here are the tokens of my fatal wounds, which, when I eyed Annetta, I have wept to think upon my loose unbridled love. Let us not joy in words, but joy in hearts, and let our arms, our tongues discourse embrace, where our 3 lives are heard of again. Call them 3 knacks to find out honest men.
God wrought these things. We do applaud his works. See how by mute embrace these friends embrace. Mark how they whisper in each other's ears their troublous fortunes, cares, and discontents. And now love works. See how Lelio, hand in hand, joins Sempronio with his Lucida. The holy hermit knitteth up the knot. and all applaud this unity of peace.
Enter Phillida.
How now? What seeks this maid?
Pardon for my father.
Comest thou to plead for Servio, Phillida? Go fetch him forth. Joy shall have fullness now.
Exit Phillida.
Sempronio, stand aside. I will make some sport.
Enter Phillida with her father.
Now, Servio, for thy forfeit to the state, what fine wilt thou afford for liberty?
Dread lord, those lands and profits fell to me by dear Sempronio's death, my near akin, I frankly give in lieu of my contempt.
What wilt thou make bequeath of others' lands? No. What? Wilt thou make bequeath of others' lands? Why, man, he lives again.
Erst tell me I am dead, my lord.
Thou must restore to him his goods again.
Oh, misery, is he restored to life? To take away my goods? Command me death, nay, imprisonment, and what ye will, so he revive not, so I meet him not.
See here the picture of true avarice, where men prefer their goods before their friends. How fare you, uncle?
Jesus bless me, a spirit! What, coffin?
I, uncle, the fame, and grieve not to yield your kinsman his right.
Nay, force perforce he shall restore thy own. Phillida, behold, thy uncle lives. See, my lords, no care of kindred holdeth her, she runs to meet Orphino. Love conducteth her.
Are you returned, my lord? What safe returned?
Return to keep my faith with Phillidia.
Knit up that knot within, with jollity, and register, record this commodity.
Nay, stay, my lord, before this comic end, let measure knacks to find out honest men. For all these listening ears would find them out, who list to know a perfect honest man, shall see his purse still open to the poor, his tongue, detesting lewd detractions, he scorns to grieve the needful heart with grief, but lives as born to every man's relief. A knave will gain by all unlawful means, but good men steal their goods by virtue gleans. A knave makes shift his thrift, forswears and lies. An honest man on love and faith relies. A knave makes lust his love, respects no friend. An honest man for friendship life will spend. Oh, how I should tire both tongue, thought, and pen to scan out knaves from perfect honest men. Point where I list. If so my finger light on honesty, I swear I point aright.
Thanks, good Sempronio, for this worthy skill. And to register the memory of this, henceforth, where'er this history is heard, the world shall praise thee, in whose life began the perfect knack to know an honest man.
And bugger me, the ending worked. I was really worried the moment when whichever of the daughter turns to Fortunio and says, oh, maybe there's I may be more kindly to you, and I thought, oh no, he can't get away with that. Surely he can't get away with that. But no, Fortunio does not gain anything. I mean, he's probably still going to be Duke later on, but hopefully he is redeemed on some level and he doesn't get rewarded for his misdeeds in that way. And we have this constant flow of people coming on trying to tidy up the plot in a way that's really satisfying. Kill me! No, kill me! Kill everyone! I won't be satisfied until either everyone's dead or nobody's dead. It's just really nicely done. It mostly gets us to the end without really horrible, painful awkwardness. Briony and then Sarah.
Yeah, I really love that ending, but I just particularly enjoy the way that Sempronio can't possibly tell anybody or reveal to anyone himself who he actually is. He's like, I wish something had, and I was thinking, why does he keep saying that? And why doesn't he just, I thought he was like just waiting to the last minute, but no, he was waiting for the surprise guest appearance of Phillip.
Yeah, because it's not his secret to tell. He promised Phillip he wouldn't tell anyone. So he can't until Phillip turns up. So it's like he's shouting into the wings. Get on with it!
I wish I had a tongue.
Yeah, and I really want to see Phillip like come running on, like completely out of breath. It's like, oh yeah, I had a vision and it told me to show up here. Yeah, he's Sempronio. Did I say?
Yeah, I'm wondering it would be really cool actually if he doubles with someone like Servio, so that he can only come on when Servio's been sent off, and then he has to sneak off again so that he can come back on as Servio in a moment, and just to make that structurally quite neat as well. The doubling's quite extreme. Sarah.
Yes, so I think but by this point I am definitely of the opinion that this is a parody.
Oh, it's a pucker comedy. Even if it's not a parody, it's definitely a comedy.
I think it is a parody, and I'm pretty sure you said yesterday, Rob, that it was massively popular in its day, and I think if you play it as a parody on all these other early modern drama tropes, I mean, I can see why it would be wildly popular, because it's absolutely hilarious and takes the piss out of pretty much everything. But having said all of that, I do want to just sound a little bit of a note, which is going to ruin everybody's day, because, like, seriously, Lucida ends up getting married to Sempronio, and, I mean, not only does she probably barely know him, not least because he's been in disguise as a hermit for the past however long, but also, like, this whole thing started because Lelio was lusting after Annetta.
No,
Sempronio
was.
No, other way around. Okay, so like, and now the daughter of that woman is being married off to him, and I'm like,
yeah, just cut the line. Just cut the line. It's as simple as that. Just cut the line.
That's really icky.
I'll go to Rachael, then Briony.
That was the exact same thing I was thinking. It's like the end of Twilight or whatever, where the baby like is married to the one guy, or it's like some weird connection, supernatural connection. That's what that reminds me of.
Yeah, I've just got in the script. What? Briony.
There was a hint at the start that he was lusting after the daughter as well. I'm sure that came into it. But I was going to say, I think the best way to play this would be kind of how we read it, where it's not obviously spoofed at the beginning and it just slowly gets piled on, because that's the ride. But yeah, all the things that we guessed might happen kind of did, but not in a way that we expected. So yeah,
which makes it quite nicely satisfying. I also think what we need for Sempronio's last speech is the music from the end of He-Man, when they do the moral of the story. It's just going, "Hey kids, do you know that?" It's just the little music plays, and I'm just going to do the moral of the story now in a really obvious way. Aliki, then Alan.
I think that music idea is really good, because we can find other places where modern things like that can be brought in to enhance that sense of send-up, which we didn't quite get, because we don't quite have all of the materials that it's mocking.
Yeah, I think we can find lots of analogues that you can throw into that. And I said we could cut that line, or we just make that whole thing sort of very over the top of he gets hurt and she's go, hang on,
what?
Who's no. No,
Dad.
Everybody takes a step to the left. Alan, then Sarah, then Briony.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about it. The pastiche didn't really become evident until the second half, the bit that we've done today. The first half seemed you could actually play it absolutely dead straight. And then when people have come back after the interval, having had a couple of jars, and the final sequence, the more I look at it, it's basically the panto walk down, isn't it? Pair everybody off, tie up all the loose ends, no matter how bizarrely they tie. Show off a few fancy costumes, audience applause, and everybody off to the bar.
Sarah.
Yeah, there are definite panto elements in it. I still think it's more of a satire than most panto. Although I mean, well, you go into commedia, I suppose that started as satire. But what I was going to say was the other thing I really love about this is the fact that the Duke gets the final speech and the sort of benediction. The world shall praise thee, in whose life began the perfect knack to know an honest man, because the Duke is just so dishonest. I mean, he's not even honest with himself. He's so dishonest. He actually thinks that he's an honest man when he really absolutely isn't. He's mired in corruption, and the fact that he gets to deliver that line at the end just made me roar, inwardly at least. I think that would be absolutely hilarious on stage.
And there's that moment when he's sort of talking about, let the senators debate this. It's like, now he wants democracy because he doesn't want to deal with this.
Yes.
This is too complicated. Exactly. I don't want to unravel any of that. Briony.
I was going to comment on, I love how many times they got the title in at the end there. Love that. But to add to what Sarah said, that last bit from the Duke after the kind of moral of the story summing up bit from Sempronio, it's almost like he just has to have the last word.
It's like he needs to push him out the way, doesn't he? It's just, yes, thank you. And it is that thing. Yesterday we weren't reading it as boldly as today, but now that you look back, you go, okay, there's that opening with the shepherds.
Yeah.
When it's like, we will come on and do pastoral comedy. I will tell you about the death of. Oh, there's a fight happening. There's something else happening. The question about why doesn't the wife mention anything? Because that's not what this play is doing. And actually, we were able to say within the bones of this play there is room for something deeper and stuff, but actually the play's not really interested in that at all, is it? And even that bit where we were going in scene 3 where we're going, maybe there's some bits cut, maybe there's something missing. No, actually I don't think there is. Now I'm looking back just going, no, this is just the world we're in. They may be entering mid-conversation and doing something, but actually that sort of all makes sense now. So we're not going to have time to go around to everyone for final thoughts, so wave at me for any final thoughts you have. Rachael.
Just about the note that you guys were just saying about the Duke and that he's the most dishonest of all. Like even Annetta and Lucida in the end, they're like telling these lies to get him off of being like murdered, and I wonder if that theme of that everybody's really dishonest in this as opposed to honesty is more in line with what's intended. And I wonder if a production could play with the levels of the relationship between Lelio, Annetta, and Sempronio, and that type of thing, or on a second look or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is a real send-up, and I think there's so much you could play and go in different directions.
Yeah, that whole sequence actually with Annetta and Lucida and Servio when they come on and say, this and this and this and this precedent, and I had it first and it was him, and then the Duke just goes, okay, and off. And there's something really nicely there. Lynn and then Briony.
Yeah, a writer friend of mine years ago used to say, the only things worth writing about are love and redemption. And even though this is not straight up, I think I would make a fine distinction between satire and parody, because this doesn't really have that kind of I don't think, that mocking bitterness of satire. It's more a kind of Night of the Burning Pestle parody of older genres, but it's an idealized world. It's like, look what happens when we all are sorry for our sins and change our minds and say, oh, I was wrong. With, it's, no, this isn't how real life works. But I think that there's something in this text that's very loving about that possibility in the human soul, to be self-sacrificing and to change our minds and to do better, even if it's kind of silly. I think there's also something kind of optimistic about it.
Briony.
I was just going to say, because I've said a lot already about it, just that I'm really excited to do a second look at this at some point, because it was just so much fun and such a surprise, and to read the first bit again now, knowing the second bit, just, yeah.
Well, the nice thing is we can do a second run in one go because it's short enough. And so that's nice. We got a lot of text work to tidy up. There's a lot of deciding who's saying what at certain points, of which some of which may be our errors, but it might just be that the text is just wrong in places. So there are some editorial things we need to do. But actually, we could come back to this quite quickly, actually, because it's only going to take 2 weeks out of our schedule. And it's not a massive cast. I mean, we need more than we got in the room now. But actually, it's with some deliberate quick changes, because I think deliberate quick changes is part of the gag. Actually, I think it functions quite nicely. I'll go to Eric, who's been waving a while, and then Aliki.
No, I realized that I was nodding when you were saying, yeah, it makes sense. And then I realized, wait, no, it doesn't make sense because I've only seen the second half. And it's like, okay, what the... Yeah, but it's interesting because it made me think of sort of like, I guess, spoof episode of Law and Order or something, where kind of, I've never seen Law and Order, but I know what it's about, like a courtroom drama kind of thing. But it just, yeah, it's sort of final scene being set in a courtroom and people interrupting the judge who's getting increasingly pissed off would just be hilarious, I think.
Aliki.
Yeah, I think we can even do the ridiculous double casting with not enough people and really deliberate changes. Just da 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 da. It would be very funny.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes people talk about some plays, the way the script comes out as going, oh, well, this is a touring version. That's why it's been cut into certain versions. And very rarely do I actually buy that for a second, because often they don't make any sense as a touring version. Whereas this does actually feel like it could be a slightly condensed, easier to stage for a slightly smaller cast. There's only... 7 of us in the room at the moment, and we couldn't quite make it work, but 10 I think we're probably fine for, yeah, so I'm quite confident on this one, that we can resolve. There are, as I say, some issues with it, but I think on the whole it carries it off quite well. So the curse of the final session has not struck, beyond the odd caveat, which we've alluded to. All that really remains, surprisingly, is to say thanks to all these wonderful readers for all their wonderful reading. Thank you very much, everyone, and goodbye. Fairies haunt my house.